everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Energy Talk podcast. My name is Olubimi Olajide, and thank you so much for tuning in again for this episode. This episode is going to be a little bit different from what you're used to. Usually, I have a guest and we talk about a certain aspect of the energy industry, but today it's just me. So this isn't an official episode. I would label these bonus episodes, so that's how it's going to be for a while. So this episode is just going to be me talking about why I decided to make this podcast, to tell you a little bit about myself and who I am and what I hope to achieve with this platform. I launched this podcast a little bit over 4 weeks, or just about 4 weeks now, and the reception I've gotten has been way more than what I originally expected or bargained for. We've had over 200 listens from over 12 countries, which for me is quite incredible. I thought this was just a niche podcast with a very specific topic, but apparently a lot of people are interested to listen, so I'm happy about that. And I look to improve every week. So you could have heard the first episode, the audio quality wasn't all that, and it was just voices and voices. But now I've gotten a little bit better with the last episodes I did with Putra, I think. So hopefully I continue to develop, and hopefully I get to bring you more quality interviews and conversations to help us both learn more about this energy industry that we are focusing on. So, an introduction. My name is Olubumi Timtukwe Olajide, but everybody just calls me Olu because it's shorter, and let's be honest, my name isn't the easiest to pronounce. I am 22 years old. I graduated last year summer from university with a degree in petroleum and natural gas engineering. And if you think that makes me a bit biased in the conversation about energy, maybe it does, but I try not to be. This is just me coming out clean. So if there's anybody who is an evangelist of the renewable energy sector, or an environmentalist or an activist, trust me, I think I can strike a balance and not go too overboard championing the oil industry, because, well, I like to think of myself as more of a realist. So anyway, I started this podcast because I just really wanted to learn more about the energy industry, and most of the opportunities to learn that were in podcasts. So I found lots of podcasts, and the problem with the podcast I found around the energy industry is they tended to be one-dimensional. Either they talk specifically about the oil industry, or they're all into renewables or nuclear, and I never really found just one podcast that could bring all those voices together and give you a more fully formed idea of the energy industry, and to give you a better understanding of the energy reality we live in today and what the future might look like. And the reason why I chose about the energy industry, apart from my direct affiliation with oil and gas, is because I just find the stories that are developing every day in this industry to be the most fascinating. Just like the issues of last many years ago that were surrounded about developing technology and solving problems through that, I believe that the greatest problems and the greatest solutions that are going to come in the next few 20-ish years are all about energy. There are many problems in the energy industry, which if you listen to this, and I'm sure you're very much aware of some of them at least. And I believe that for innovative solutions to come out of these problems, we need to have conversations and people talking about these things to help them better understand what exactly is going on and what role they can play in the old development. And I bring a different perspective as well. So if you couldn't tell by my name, I'm actually Nigerian, and that shapes a little bit differently my ideas of what our energy future should look like. Because I come from the part of the world that do not have the most advanced infrastructures, or they don't have the best government structure in the world. So it really shapes my ideas in a way that I have more of a heart for people who do not have access to energy at all. And if you're thinking that, blah, 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 that there are not many people, there are over a billion people on the planet right now that do not have access to energy. And some of them that do have access to energy, it's very limited access. And this is just a problem that that hasn't really been addressed so much. So this is something that you'll be hearing repeatedly coming up in my conversations with the guests I have, talking about policies for developing nations and technologies that could reach people in remote areas and give them at least some access to energy, having gridless solutions and through renewables and that. But really, it's just about having as many voices represented in the conversations we're having, because far too often it's very easy to miss out because most people don't know. The voices of the people who are most affected by things like climate action or inaction or things like energy access are the people whose voices don't get heard a lot. And it's so easy to have full conversations about protecting people, but you have no idea who those people are and you have no idea what those people want, which I believe is one of the greatest unfortunate failings of policymaking and application of technologies and investments and all that. But that just goes all into a moral issue. So I will just stop on that. You can hear all these in the interviews I have, but this is about this podcast and myself. So it's very nice to meet you all. I've had a very interesting experience getting to know the audience I've had. And really, the things that have surprised me the most is I thought it'd be so difficult to reach out to guests and to have people interviewed on the show. But to my surprise, it has been, I wouldn't say easy, but much, much better than I expected. I have the next 4 episodes planned out. I have 4 very, very unique, different guests, all bringing different ideas about the energy sector. And this is just a quick disclaimer because I don't say it in every episode, but very often you hear me entertain guests who have polar opposite opinions to each other. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with everything they say, but I feel that giving them a platform to talk about this and ask them why they think the way they do and why they think certain policies are important or certain energy sources are more important than the other, it really helps you, the listeners, and myself to learn more about how real conversations go surrounding energy issues and energy conversations and how we can form our own opinions and engage with people that we don't agree with and learn more, because that is the whole point of the show. So story time. So this is about me. I think this would help you understand a bit more of where I'm coming from and why I care so much about this platform. I graduated last summer, as I said, and I graduated and I was so enthusiastic. So, you got your degree, you have your gown, and you were like, okay, now I'm going to get working. And I spent months and months and months applying, and I got nothing, just crickets. I attended job fairs, and it was probably one of the most horrible experiences of my life. Rejection emails are plenty, and it just really helped make me realize that I really had no clue about the industry I was trying to get into, which is a big problem with graduating from university in maybe it's a problem unique to the engineering discipline. I'm not very sure. I can't speak for everyone. But there is this risk that you spend so much of your time studying the theoretical aspects of things, but you don't really understand the industry you're getting into. So after about December, it was about November, then I decided that I would start learning more about the industry that I was trying to get into. Then I started to look at more interesting conversations. I learned so many incredible things, and I was like, why doesn't everyone talk about this? This is actually a very, very good story. It's developing everywhere. And that's where I realized that I wanted to have these kind of conversations, but the problem is I didn't know enough to do those things. So I had to spend lots of time learning and reading and listening to different podcasts, and I found very amazing sources that I'll be more than happy to share with you guys as the podcast develops. But now I think I'm in a place where I can have these conversations and not make a fool of myself when I have experts on and I ask them questions and really provide values to the people who are listening. And a bit about myself, not really getting into the workforce as quickly as I expected. It felt a bit like a betrayal. I blamed a lot of things, not really myself. I just felt that the promise was if you work hard in school, if you get good grades, that you would be guaranteed opportunities and you just had to just reach out and take them. But if you're a bit older listening to this, life is really not that simple. And sometimes you need to get creative. You need to be a bit more stubborn in order to have doors open up for you. So this is really me just taking a brand new step in my quest for really finding my place in the energy industry. I have no doubt in my mind that this is the industry I want to be in because, let's be honest, like I have a podcast about this that should tell you how interested I am. But going forward, I really, 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 really want you guys to have this love and appreciation, even if you don't agree with all the viewpoints that I bring on the show, to appreciate where they're coming from and to better develop your own arguments and your own debates about why certain things are better than the other. So far we've had oil and gas and renewables, and we've had Andres, which was our first guest of the show, and he spoke to us about the NGO work they do in Peru, and that really opened my eyes for the first time to see that these are real people trying, and how difficult it is for individual groups to really make an impact. And even with that, they've turned something difficult into something absolutely beautiful and have an amazing community behind them. So that just shows the spirit of hard work and just perseverance in something you really want to do. And then I had Toby on the second episode, and that was just, he's a person who inspires me personally. He's a young guy, and he is taking risks, starting his own business, and he's doing good for himself. And then there was Putra, which is the first professional I've had in the oil and gas sector, and he really gave a very pragmatic view of things, and I'm happy that he did that, because that allowed me to really understand things not from a biased or everything is good, don't ask me any questions standpoint, but a real conversation about the oil and gas industry and the failings it has and the ways it needs to develop in the few years to actually make it a significant player in the future of energy. So this is what this podcast is about. For me, it's really about learning. It's really about trying to understand things that I don't think I was taught in school, and it's really about just making people learn more, because the more people know about things that affect them, the more you can drive change in a positive direction, or at least so I believe. So that's about it for why I'm doing this and my motivations behind it. So for me personally, it's very difficult to explain your personality in a few minutes, but I'll try. You could tell from some of the conversations I've had, if you've been listening from the start, that I really like to ask questions. I like to go deeper into issues, and sometimes I ask personal questions, and luckily for me, none of my guests seem to mind too much when I do, because I believe that if you're talking to someone and if you understand more about them as a person, you're more likely to listen to what they have to say rather than just being an expert talking about a topic, because that produces this disassociation between you and them. And so if you're going to be listening to me, I feel you need to know a little bit more about myself. So I'm going to tell a little bit of the significant events in my life. So I'll share 3 events, and that will be all for the episode. So the first one was when I was 16. When I was 16, I had this church youth trip. It was in the desert, and it was supposed to be an opportunity for me to mix with the kids and really make new friends. It was a new church, and I was a very shy kid. I was very shy, and I didn't make friends easy. So my mom thought this would be a good opportunity for me to make friends. So we went to the trip, and during our first game in the trip, we were playing Capture the Flag. And it was a desert, so there were sand dunes and hills, and I was climbing up one, and I slipped. And as I rolled down, I heard a pop. I did not know what it was at the time, but fast forward a little bit, I tore my ACL in my left knee. That's the anterior cruciate ligament. I hope I said that right. But basically, it's kind of like a thread that holds the knee together, and it was horrible. It hurt. It took a long time, and that was in my final year of high school. And I basically had to have surgery on my knee. I had to stop attending school for a while. I had to study at home for my exams. And it was a tough period for me. I was very depressed, gained lots of weight. I had to learn to walk again, lots of physiotherapy classes. My mom, my mom was amazing during that time. And it was a really low point for me, because I felt like I had worked hard all through high school. And this was the final stretch. And I just needed to get my A-level results, IGCSEs, and then apply to university. So I felt like it was just a huge hit at the wrong time. But I did my exams. I didn't do as well as I wanted to, not as well as my previous record would have required of me. My mind was just not in the right place at the time. So I did the exams. I got I got an okay grades. I got like three A's, one B, and a C, which for me was horrible. Was horrible. And if you're a child of an immigrant family, because my family moved from Nigeria to Qatar, uh, not getting straight A's or A stars is pretty much horrible. Uh, Immigrant families will understand. Or some people who really care much about school, but it wasn't a good result, and that kind of limited the schools that I thought I would get into. So I was just depressed. Yes, I think that's a good word for it. But as life goes, that wasn't the end for me, and I did get into school. I got into a university called Near East University in Cyprus. Prior to that, I wasn't really sure where Cyprus was on the map, but yeah, that's where I went, and I entered the program of petroleum and natural gas engineering. And if you're wondering why petroleum and natural gas engineering, it was just a natural choice for me. I was good at math, physics, chemistry, the science subjects, and I'm from Nigeria, and Nigeria has the biggest oil industry in Nigeria, and my family lives in Qatar, which has one of the biggest oil industries in the Middle East. So it just felt like the natural choice for me to go for. And around that time, oil was trading for about $100 per barrel, and petroleum engineers were paid big bucks basically. So you can tell that influenced my decision just a little bit. So that's how I rolled up into school, and my first semester of university was hard. It was hard. I had spent about 6 months at home away from school, and I think I had just like grown lethargic a bit in studying, and I don't know. I didn't do horribly, but I didn't do so well. So that first semester ended. I made a few friends. It was okay. I was hopeful, and then the second semester I did really well. I did really well my second semester. I was very happy with the way things turned out, and I was like, okay, I got this. I'm gonna graduate really, really well, and I'm just gonna go for it and get a job and da 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 da. So second year, it was my worst year in university. I'll spare you most of the details, but I'll just tell you my CGPA for my second year was about 1.2. Yeah, if that sounds really low, it's because that is really, really low. A lot of things happened my second year. A lot of family issues, personal issues, issues with friends. It was just a lot of things going wrong at the wrong time. Pretty much like the time I tore my ACL. It felt like that all over again. I really felt very stupid, and I I I just didn't know if there was a way for me to bounce back from that. It just felt like the end. But again, it's never really that simple. So my third year, I was always involved with things like student politics and activities around school. So I wasn't a limited student. I had lots of things on my social calendar. So my third year was a lot better. I had a lot more social engagements. I did a lot more things, and I really really built my confidence up. My third year, I became kind of a leader figure in the school community, and I was proud of how much I was able to really bounce back as a student and as a person for my family and for my friends. So that was a significant time in my life. But my grades were definitely much better than a 1.2, but they weren't the best. So fast forward to my fourth year, my final year. This is when I really made the decision that this was make or break time. My plan was always to graduate with a honors degree, and it was something that should have been easy for someone of my academic history, if you would say. So it wasn't something that should have been a struggle, it's something that should have been easily attained for someone like me. So me not being that close to my goal at that time was very tough, but I decided that I was going to put in my best and really, really strive for everything that I wanted. And my last year was the best year I've had in all my 4 years. In all my schooling years, like all 12 years and plus the 4 years of university combined, my fourth year of university was the best. I finished both semesters on the high honor list, the dean's list. I had my friends and I founded a club, which was probably the most active club in the university. I had lots of engagements, lots of friends. I had lots of impacts in the society I was in. It was the most amazing semester I had ever had in full year. And of course, I had amazing grades. My grades were awesome. But because of the mess up I had in my second year, I had to do summer school. And I did summer school. I had two courses to take. I did well in those two courses, and then I graduated. I graduated just a little bit short. The irony. Now, this is the really sad part. I graduated just a little bit short of what I really wanted. So I wanted to graduate with honors degree, which starts at 3.0, and I graduated with a GPA of 2.95. Eesh. Yes, that was tough. But you know what? Life doesn't end there. So I got out of school. I was very hopeful, very perky. Got home, immediately applying for jobs everywhere in Qatar, where my family lives. I applied to all the companies around us. I went to job fairs. I spoke to everyone that was even associated with the oil and gas industry, just trying to find something I could do entry level. But a few months in, it became a bit obvious that it wasn't going to be that easy. So I got another job working as a copywriter, and that's just another long story. But still, I haven't found a place for me to get into, and that was depressing for a while and really, really affected the way I thought about things. But as you know, with life, it's also not the end. So starting this podcast has had a very significant impact in my life. One of the biggest problems I have was not being able to reach out to people I wanted to reach out to and have conversations with them. If you've ever tried to reach out to someone important, you send them emails, send them messages, they don't always reply. And I used to do a lot of that. But when I started the podcast, it became a bit easier. The tone of my messages changed, and I got lots of positive replies. And it's a lot difficult. It's a lot different, I think, when you are reaching out to people and telling them that, oh, I have this podcast about the energy industry. I'm really passionate about this and this. I saw the work you're doing here, and I would really love to have a conversation about this on the show and have you as a guest and interview you. My audience are young professionals in developing countries, or they're professionals and this and that and da-da-da-da-da. And they will really value you taking your time to have this conversation about this topic. And the truth is that lots of people are willing to help. You just really have to ask for things in a way that you're confident that you get a yes. And really thinking that way has really helped me reach out to guests and have this podcast be the way it is. It's been a long journey getting here, and I cannot wait for what the future holds. So I really appreciate everyone who listens to this podcast, everyone who is interested in conversations that I bring forward. I plan to have this podcast very, very, very long term. For me personally, what I have planned in the future, I'm going to start having a work placement sometime in the next few months. I'm moving back to Nigeria to get a few years of work experience, and then I plan to go to graduate school. I will let you guys know more about those plans when the time comes. But for the time being, this podcast is very important to me. I've had amazing guests giving me amazing ideas, and the contacts I've gained through this have been way more than I could have ever anticipated. So to all those who have left reviews on iTunes and who've subscribed and who have sent me emails and messages, shout out to Jennifer and my mom and my family and everybody else who listens to this. Thank you so much. And I would really love to hear from you guys. What are you doing? Where are you in your career? Why do you care so much about energy conversations? How does it affect you as a person? If you're working in an NGO, what kind of projects are you doing? If you're with a company, where are you in your career as you're progressing? How do you see the energy industry going in the next few years? And just reach out to me anywhere you can. The link for my website is always in the description of the episodes. So you can always send me an email, or you can reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook, DM me, and I would always reply. And LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably the social media platform I'm most active on, because, well, LinkedIn is great, by the way. So just reach out to me anywhere you can. And if you're listening to this and you notice that you're not subscribed yet to the podcast, why? You should be subscribed, because I'm going to be bringing you new episodes every week. Not this episode because of the bonus episode, but the next 4 weeks already planned out, and you do not want to miss what I have in store for you. So thank you so much for listening. You guys are amazing. I hope that these conversations that I bring to you bring you value in the future, and I'm really excited to see where this all goes, and I'm extremely glad to bring you all along with me as we go on into the future. So thank you again. This has been the Energy Talk podcast, and my name is still Olubumi Olajide. This episode was produced by me, and thank you very much to Jensen for the awesome music featured in this episode. Take care and have a wonderful day.